Hello everybody! The 56th Ludum Dare Game Jam just happened, and I want to break down the development process for my game, Insect Racing League. The theme was announced at 6 p.m. local time to be Tiny Creatures. Steve and Colton jumped into a voice chat with me to help brainstorm. After comparing two leading ideas and the work required to make each one, I landed on making a racing game where you would play as a dragonfly. I had previously prototyped a flight controller, so I planned to leverage that work and make this a free-flying racing game. My first major task was modeling up a dragonfly for the players to control. Once the model was done, it was time for animations. The flight animations are heavily based on Anthem's GDC talk, which I'll link down in the description, because it is just fantastic. The main takeaway for me is that I really didn't need much for convincing flight animation. In fact, all I needed was just 9 static poses. A pose for flying straight, up, down, left, right, and the diagonals. Then we can simply blend between those poses to perfectly match the current flight path. We can put a wing flapping animation on an additive layer, and the animation work is all done. On to making some racetracks. I figured I could make good use out of Unity's spline package, and this turned out to be the right decision, since it offers bonus utilities such as finding the nearest point on a spline, and extruding a simple cylindrical mesh along the spline. I wanted to be able to make and iterate on the tracks very quickly, so I made a helper tool that would place the start, checkpoint, and finish markers automatically whenever the spline was changed. There were times when the spline would go through some of the environment, but I was able to change the rotation of each knot, and more importantly, the length of the incoming and outgoing tangents. Increasing the tangent length forced the spline to adhere to that direction longer, which helped me wrap the path around obstacles. Now, let's not skip over these sweet checkpoints. As my understanding of 3D modeling and UVs has improved over the course of these jams, I was pretty certain I could wrap some text around the rings. To achieve this, I isolated the areas where I wanted text to appear, UV unwrapped, repositioned the groups, and finally used Inkscape's bend modifier to place the text in the perfect spot. I don't know why, but this process feels super rewarding to me when I can envision a model and then go through the steps to make it. So after wiring up the logic for the checkpoints and the finish line, we had a racing game, but something was missing.
You know how whoever has the best time, there's always a ghost?
Yeah.
How hard would it be to have that ghost?
This was by far the most technically challenging and ambitious feature in my game, but man does it pay dividends. Having both your personal best and the world record racing alongside you in real time really provides a sense of competition and urgency that otherwise was completely missing. I started by modeling the data that I need to represent a run. This was mostly an array of data points, which each stored the current race time, the vector 3 position, and the orientation of the player. Then I wrote a script to record those data points every half second during your run. When you finish, that run data is converted to a JSON file and saved to your local disk if you set a new personal best, and submitted to an online database if it beat the world record. And finally, a script to drive the ghosts, which gets that JSON file, converts it back to the array of data points, and then interpolates the ghost's position and orientation through those points based on the current runtime. One of the nice-to-have features that came up during brainstorming is having multiple racers instead of just the dragonfly. So I modeled a butterfly and a bee. By keeping all the same object names and hierarchy in Blender, I was able to reuse the same animation clips. I didn't have to redo any of that. But I will have to remember in future games to do better balance testing, because one of the racers is pretty obviously better than the others.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
Final day, which means I really just want to focus on polishing things up and avoid touching any gameplay. Nope, let's make entirely new scenes and tracks. Up to this point, I only had the one track in the game, But with the prep work I had done to make sure tracks were quick to create, I was able to add 3 more in about 30 minutes each. And that about does it. I submitted the game with 3 different racers and 4 tracks. Thanks very much for watching. I'll leave you with a full run of Spruce Slalom. See you next time.